Check us out. TheLookout.com. THALO. Whatever, you get it.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Lookout Podcast. I am Mixtape Meeko. Follow us on Twitter at The Lookout and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Lookout. Also, make sure that you keep logging on and visiting thelookout.com. Artists, keep sending in your music. If you know you got some dope music and it hasn't been showcased on there yet, that's simply because we haven't gotten to it. The inboxes are getting flooded. The review team is on top of it. I even jump in there from time to time, and if you got something dope and you get an email from me, you might see that sometimes. So keep sending it in. We get a lot of good stuff. If you stay tuned to the site, you'll see the stuff being posted on there. And another thing going on is K-Flow's album just released a few weeks ago. Victory Loves Preparation, that's the name of it. It's on iTunes, CD Baby. I'm gonna put a link to it in the show notes, and you can find the show notes at thelookout.com/episode 5. The album, I just want y'all to check it out, support it. It's hip hop. Shout out to Speeds. Speeds and myself are always gonna be doing production for K-Flow. But other than us, we reached out and worked with Mad Frequency. He's based out in San Antonio. Shout out to Skelly Productions. And we also work with Jeeps, produced out of Canada. And the album is, just want you to check it out and let us know what you think. And speaking of Skelly Productions, they got a mixtape out, Declaration of Independence. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes also. And once again, you get to the show notes at thelookout.com/episode 5. Declaration of Independence is out. It has Omar Zaire on it, who also has, I'm going to put his album in the show notes too. And Celestial, that's an album that he dropped a while back. Y'all need to check him out. It has Omar Zaire, Taylor the Bandit, Porter, and it also has K-Flow on it. So it's a nice mixtape, it just has like a real smooth vibe to it. And the production on the Declaration of Independence mixtape is mainly by Mad Frequency and Alpha Mega. I made the cut one song and I co-produced one, but they did that thing on there, and shout out to them. Now today's topic is going to be about mastering your craft / gear. Same concept. Now I've had a lot of people ask me questions about gear and all that kind of stuff, and it always boils down to basically mastering what you have. Now if you're dealing with beat making and producing or anything that involves equipment or gear, I'm pretty sure that you've heard them say it's not about having the best stuff, it's about knowing how to use what you have. And that is true. I agree with that, and that is true, but it's like to a certain extent, because the best equipment or the best stuff is going to give you the best quality, and that's what we all want. And if you get the best stuff right from the jump, it may save you more money in the long run. Now, as far as what the best is, we automatically assume that means the most expensive, but to me that's not the case. And I'm gonna give you an example. Like, let's say if you're looking for microphones and you see a $50 USB mic, a $200 XLR mic, and a $1,000 XLR mic, you automatically think that $1,000 XLR mic is the best, which it may be, but that $200 XLR mic is also in that best category, because you're going to get good quality out of it, and it's going to last you a long time. Now, if you buy that USB, you may end up upgrading I mean, I'm pretty sure you're gonna upgrade, especially if it's something you're doing every day, and and that's when you're gonna start noticing quality. You're gonna want to change, so you're gonna end up spending more money. So, but then another thing is your pockets might not allow you. You might have no option but to get that $50 USB. And I know it's easy because I see people say it all the time to wait and save. Like it'll be somebody on the forums and they say, hey, my budget is X amount and I'm looking for a microphone. Which one should I get? And it's always that one person that jumps in and says, well, you should just stop and wait and save up this amount and buy this one. I mean, that's easy to say, like, but it's people out there like myself. You know, once I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to buy. I'm not, I don't want to save. I don't want to wait anymore. But yeah. And that's how the whole concept of not having the best, it's not about having the best, it's about knowing how to use what you got. And that's how it's true to a certain extent. Now, I am not against having the stuff that'll give you the lower quality. I'm all for that too, if that's what your pockets can give you, because that's where you get that experience in. And that's how I had to do a lot of the times. Like I actually have seen it from both sides. The first mic I bought, it was actually a good mic, and I still use it. So that was a worthwhile purchase, and it was the Rode NT2A. Now, as far as the stuff for producing, now that's when I, started out getting, I couldn't get the stuff I wanted to get, and this goes into one of the key things to mastering your craft, and that is staying with it, like not giving up, just sticking with it. Because when I got into producing, what I wanted was an MPC. That's all I cared about. I wanted an MPC, and my pockets wouldn't allow it at the time. So what did I do? I went and bought a PlayStation, and I had to get the music generator game. So I had the music generator game, and I was frustrated. Like every time I would put it in, and I was just frustrated. But the thing is, I was doing it every day. And I was frustrated because I wanted to press pads. I didn't want to use the controller to move blocks around, and it just frustrated me. But because I stuck at it every day, I was I didn't even realize that I was learning something important. That's where I learned how to sample. I learned looping. I also learned counting bars from using that game. That's something that's important. But I learned looping, and the process on there, it was really tedious. Like you had to, I don't remember what PlayStation it was. It's the one where you had the power button on the left and the open button I think it was on the right, and you push it and it pops up. I don't remember if that was the PlayStation 1 or the 2. I don't remember. But but you had to, when you wanted to sample, you could only sample with CDs. You had the power, you had to make sure the power was still on, and you just press open and take out the game and put a CD in, and you close it and you had to wait for that to load. And then you could sample up to, I think it was up to 8 seconds. I'm not sure if I'm describing it right because I hadn't done it in a long time, but and then you had to put the game back in, wait for that to load, and then you sample. And it was a long process, but I just kept doing it every day. And then that's when I moved to up to the computer and the infamous Fruity Loops, FL Studio. And a lot of people bash that program. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute too. But now when I had the FL Studio, I still wasn't happy with it because I wanted this MPC. That's all I cared about. And now with the Fruity Loops, that's when I learned chop it. Like that's when I learned how to chop and flip the samples. And I mean, like now when I say I was frustrated, it doesn't mean I was just sad every time I opened it up. It was like every once in a while I would get that feeling like, you know, I'm not happy with this. I want my MPC. You know, I had like some good moments with it. But I remember I bought the so I learned the sample, chopping, flipping it. I learned all that. And then, you know, I found out that you could assign samples and everything to a keyboard. So I went out and bought like a Casio that had not USB MIDI. Yeah, I made up a new word, MIDIO. It had USB MIDI connection. And, you know, so I learned the slicing, the chopping, and now I'm learning about MIDI, not really realizing that I'm learning important things. So I did that, you know, I was assigning samples to the keys, and, you know, that was fun for a while, but it's like, you know, I still don't have my MPC. And then I ended up getting a Korg, I think it was called the Korg Pad, Pad Control. I think it was called Pad Control, where it was a MIDI device that had 16 pads, and it was also a program or a tool within FL Studio. I forgot the name of it, where it had 16 pads, and you can program that to your MIDI controller. So, like, I had my 16 pads, and I was pressing on buttons, you know, but it wasn't an MPC, so I wasn't all the way happy. But I was learning all this stuff. Now, you know, I was doing that for a while, and then I finally got the MPC. And when I got the MPC, you know, I had to learn the MPC, but it was all of the important things I learned from all this other stuff. Like, I knew how to sample, how to flip them and chop them and do all that. I knew about counting bars, so that made the process of learning the MPC easier. Now, had I just waited all that time when I finally had money and then got the MPC, it's like I just would have been stuck for a long time. But I got the MPC. I had to learn the MPC process. Once I learned that process, everything else, it made that process easy. You know, things kind of fell into place. And that kind of sums up the whole thing of learning what you got. Because if I hadn't been through the PlayStation and FL Studio, you know, I wouldn't have grasped the MPC the way that I did. And now another thing, when it comes to mastering your gear, something important is being yourself. You know, like being original. And now we're going to talk about the bashing of FL Studio. Now, FL Studio, it's a good program. Fruity Loops is a really good program. And the reason people bash it, they don't bash it because it's not a good program. They bash it because that's like the go-to program for all of those wannabe producers, like the people who make those generic beats. And the reason I call them wannabe producers is because they're just doing, you know, like they're just doing what somebody else is doing. Like, there are people, you know, like look at Ninth Wonder. He was using FL Studio, gave us classics. You know, that's a person who was being original, being himself with the program. So in FL Studio, it kind of, because that's the go-to program for those generic beat makers, it kind of, you know, it's like when you think FL Studio, it kind of that has that stigma to it. Speeds, he uses FL Studio, Young Speeds, and see, this is the crazy thing about it. This is how you know that stigma is with FL Studio. Like, if I were to play you some Speeds beats and then say, oh, he made this on FL Studio, your reaction is going to be, oh, for real? Oh, you made that in FL Studio? And it's like that shouldn't be a surprise, because the program itself is good. It's just, it just has that stigma because of those generic beat makers. So just be yourself. And somebody asked me something, and it was a good, it was kind of a good question. They said, how can I be myself? Because I actually was having this conversation with somebody, and they said, how can I be myself when, I get inspired by other producers and stuff? Which I totally understand, because I get inspired by a lot of producers. But the thing is, as you're going through that stage of mastering your craft, you're going to find you. And once you find you, that's when you put your twist on things. Like I could be listening to a song that has production by DJ Premier. And the thing I like about it was the drum pattern in that song. So what I'll do, I'll mimic that drum pattern. Like I just have, where the kick and the snares were placed. I'll go back to the studio and lay that pattern down. I lay, even with hats, I'll just lay that whole drum pattern down. Now let's say that he used horns, I might find a piano sample or something to put over it. But by the time I finish with it, like it doesn't even sound like it sounds like my own creation, but it was influenced by DJ Premier. And that's how you do it. Like if you're inspired, like it doesn't mean go and use the same sample that he used and the same drum, like and basically just making the beat that he just made over again. It's just getting some inspiration and putting your own twist to it. So, that's basically it as far as getting inspiration from others. And that's basically it as far as mastering your gear. Use what you have, learn what you have. That's really important. And don't give up. Stay at it. Be original. Be yourself. And if your pockets allow you, get the stuff that's in the best category. Now, that's all the technical stuff when it comes to mastering your craft. There's other important things, or that comes with mastering your craft, like the environment. Like when I'm in the studio, it just I have to feel comfortable. Like it has to look a certain way. You can call me OCD, but it has to be, if the studio is clean and I feel comfortable in there, it like the creativity just flows. And it's different for each person for how they do things. Like right now, I'm recording in a hotel room in Minnesota, because I came up here to do some digging, and I was like, let me try recording the podcast, because for me, I get inspiration when I'm just driving, and and I'm not in the studio, but now I got the portable with me, so if I'm not in the studio and I'm driving, I get inspiration, and when I reach a destination, that's when I want to do stuff. So I said I'm gonna try to do this with the podcast. I'm gonna do my thing, then once I get to the destination, I want to see how it feels, and it feels so much more better doing the podcast after taking that drive versus doing it in the studio. So it's things like that too that you have to pay attention to, and you'll learn them. Like you'll learn what your things are. Everybody has their own little processes, and those are just mine. Driving and pretty much being secluded kind of thing. But that's pretty much all I have as far as mastering your craft and stuff. I would love to hear what everybody else has to say. And that's it for the episode. Thank you for listening.